George Harrison didn't write "I'd Have You Anytime" for a girlfriend. He didn't write it about heartbreak, romance, or a failed relationship. He wrote it for Bob Dylan. And behind one of the most beautiful songs on Harrison's first solo album was a friendship that meant far more to him than most people realized. When the Beatles finally broke up in 1970, Harrison was ready. For years, he had been collecting songs that had been pushed aside during the band's recording sessions. Now, for the first time, he could make an album entirely on his own terms. The result was All Things Must Pass, a massive triple album that became the first solo #1 album by a former Beatle. But Harrison didn't begin the record with a song about himself. He began it with a song about a friend. Harrison first met Dylan in 1964 during the Beatles' American tour. The Beatles were already enormous fans of the American songwriter, whose lyrics and unconventional approach to music fascinated them. The meeting would have a lasting effect. Dylan and Harrison gradually developed a friendship that went far beyond their mutual admiration for music. They shared jokes, played together, exchanged ideas, and over the years became unusually close. But one meeting in 1968 would inspire Harrison to write something completely different. At the time, Harrison was working in America when Dylan invited him to Woodstock, New York for Thanksgiving. Dylan was recovering from the motorcycle accident that had changed his life. Harrison noticed that his friend seemed withdrawn and distant. Rather than simply accepting that distance, Harrison tried to reach him. He picked up a guitar, and he began writing, "Let Me Into Your Heart." The song became "I'd Have You Anytime." From its opening words, Harrison's intentions are almost impossible to miss. "Let me in here. I know I've been here. Let me into your heart." It sounds like a romantic confession, until you understand who Harrison was speaking to. He was asking his friend to let him back in. The song is essentially a musical embrace. Harrison tells Dylan that whatever happened, whatever distance had grown between them, he was still there. Then comes the line that gives the song its title, "And I'm glad to hold you in my arms. I'd have you any time." It is an extraordinarily intimate sentiment, but Harrison's idea of love was never limited to romance. For him, friendship could be just as profound. And Dylan understood that. The two musicians eventually worked together on the song, with Dylan helping Harrison shape the composition. It became a rare songwriting collaboration between two of the most influential figures in popular music. Harrison needed his friends. There was another reason the song mattered so much. All Things Must Pass was George Harrison's first opportunity to prove what he could do without the Beatles. That came with enormous freedom, but also enormous pressure. For years, he had lived in the shadow of Lennon and McCartney. Now he had to carry an entire album himself. So Harrison surrounded himself with people he trusted. Bob Dylan helped write the opening song. Eric Clapton played the guitar solo. And Harrison chose "I'd Have You Anytime" to open the album. Years later, Harrison admitted that having those friends around may have given him the confidence he needed. "Subconsciously, I needed a bit of support," he explained in 2001. "I had Eric playing the solo, and Bob had helped write it." That makes the song even more revealing. Harrison wasn't simply beginning a solo career. He was stepping into an uncertain new life and bringing the people he trusted most along with him. The friendship between Harrison and Dylan didn't disappear after All Things Must Pass. Quite the opposite. They continued to collaborate, perform, and appear in each other's musical worlds. And in 1988, they became members of one of rock's most unlikely supergroups, the Traveling Wilburys, alongside Tom Petty, Roy Orbison, and Jeff Lynne. The group was short-lived, but its legacy was enormous, and Harrison and Dylan remained friends. Years later, Harrison's widow, Olivia Harrison, explained just how personal "I'd Have You Anytime" really was. Speaking in Martin Scorsese's Living in the Material World, she described the song as George speaking directly to Dylan after noticing that his friend had become more distant. For Harrison, she explained, it was his way of saying, "Let me in here. Let me into your heart." Olivia also revealed something fascinating about Harrison's personality. He could be deeply romantic about friendship. He didn't need a romantic relationship to express love. His friendships could carry the same emotional weight. He had these love relationships with his friends, Olivia said. He loved them. And suddenly, "I'd Have You Anytime" sounds completely different. What first appears to be a simple love song is actually something much more personal. A song about loyalty, friendship, vulnerability, and the fear of losing someone you care about. George Harrison didn't write the song because Bob Dylan was his lover. He wrote it because Bob Dylan was his friend. And perhaps that is what makes I'd Have You Anytime so beautiful. It wasn't Harrison asking Dylan for anything. It was Harrison opening the door and telling him, "Whenever you're ready, I'm here."